Hello, my name is Justin Wright. I'm part of the NATE Personal Fitness Trainer program. Now, earlier in the course we were given a sports-specific design where we were handed a client and a goal that we have to give that client within their sport. Now, the one I was given is Todd. He is a 20-year-old university student who is looking to make the NFL. Now, he is currently a full-time student, as well as he works 16 to 20 hours in the weekends, so he has a pretty busy schedule. So football is an extremely physically demanding sport. Each position requires a certain trait in order to make the optimal team. In general, it requires strength, speed, agility, and many other traits in order to make a great football team. Now, although Todd does not have the strength or the size that he wants, he does have pretty good stats for his age. So we are going to thoroughly design a program in order to ensure that he is ready within this 16-week period we are given. Now, part of how coaches determine what players will go onto their team is through different physiological tests. These can measure strength, power, speed, vertical, and etc. So I'm going to be listing off a list of different assessments that NFL teams would typically use at the NFL draft. So you have your standard ones like your body fat percentage, your height, your weight, and etc. Next up, you have your 40-yard dash, which is pretty typical for any football team to use. This is a sprint where you start off in a 3-point stance and you are running at maximal effort. Now, times for this are recorded at the 10, 20, and 40-yard mark, and they use these to determine statistics for different positions, such as, say, linesmen. The 10-yard mark will be more important than the 40-yard mark because they don't do that much running. However, for, say, backs or quarterbacks, the 40-yard mark is going to be very important because they do require that speed and that longer running distance. Next up, we have the 225-pound bench press test. Now, this is pretty much how it sounds. It is bench press done at 225 pounds for as many repetitions as possible in order to test strength endurance. Now, the vertical jump test is one that different teams will use to test a player's vertical. This is more so important for quarterbacks and receivers. Now, different teams will do it different ways, but typically you can either do it from a standing position and jump as high as you can, and it will be recorded, or from a running position. Next up, lots of teams will use a broad jump or a long jump. Now, similar to the vertical jump, you can do this either from a standing position or you can do it from a running position. And instead of testing your vertical, it just tests how far you can jump. Next up is our 20-yard shuttle run. So this is a great agility drill that teams will use, where a player runs 5 yards forwards, 10 yards back, and 5 yards back to the start. This is more so going to be important, again, for, say, any backs or people that have to run very agilely. Then there's the 60-yard shuttle run, which is you run 5 yards back to the beginning, 10 yards back to the beginning, and then 15 yards back to the beginning. Now, this is kind of a mixture of agility, speed, and it tests endurance as well as VO2 max. Now, the physiological properties of football depend on the position. The players that do the least amount of running, like the linesmen, are going to be the ones that require the most strength and most physical power, whereas the backs, the quarterbacks, the receivers, etc. are going to require a little more agility and speed as well as coordination. For muscular work, the ATP system is going to be the primary fuel source. This is due to the fact that the first 1 to 10 seconds of activity and duration of a play typically will last within that period. Second source is going to be our anaerobic glycosis. This kicks in around 30 seconds to 2 minutes. It does not happen too often as plays are usually cut fairly short. However, there are the times where a player will have to run for a fair amount of time. The game of football consists of 12 to 15 minute quarters and a 12 to 20 minute break. 11 players from each team are on the field at once, and this will consist of different offensive, defensive, and special team lineups. Quarterbacks and wide receivers who run the most cover about 1.2 miles per game, meaning only 11 minutes is actually spent running. Due to the short bouts of play, it is suggested that the primary system used are phosphocreatine and the anaerobic source of the ATP resynthesis. However, again, this is a general prediction as each position is going to require different physical needs. The duration of a play can vary from 1.9 to 12.9 seconds, with an average of 5 seconds. When the whistle is blown, teams have a maximum of 25 seconds in order to blow the whistle before a whistle is in order to start the play before a whistle is blown and a penalty is given. Now, due to the physicality of football, injuries happen very often. There is a 85% risk of injury, and most players at some point will receive both serious and not so serious injuries. On top of this, 40% of retired football players have seen traumatic brain injuries due to excessive blows to the head and concussions. Now, you'll see a lot of injuries from head to toe in football. Find ankle sprains, you'll see ACL tears, collateral ligament sprains, you'll see dislocations, you'll see tendinitis, you can see injuries from anywhere to the bicep, to the tricep, shoulders, neck, back, legs, and as repeated before, you'll see traumatic injuries such as concussions and things caused from concussions that can cause more damage further down the road. Now, when looking at the assessment data, we determined what Todd's strengths and weaknesses were. So, from looking at that, the bench press test had to be the 225 bench press test, where you use 225 pounds for as many reps as possible, was one of Todd's greatest strengths. He did an average of 24, while the team average was 19, so this signifies that he had a fairly good strength endurance. Now, the next one is his 1 rep max squat. Todd was able to do 16 kilograms more than the team average. This signifies lower body strength. Now, for the broad jump, his distance was not that much longer than the team average. It was only 0.04 meters longer. However, this is still something that he is stronger than the others in. And another great strength that Todd has is his age. Now, the average age of the player on the team would be 22, and he is 20. So, due to this, he may be more coachable because he's younger. The coach will have more time to mold him to become the ideal player that they want him to be. And same with training purposes. They can train him the way they want to train as well. Now, for weaknesses, again, these are dependent on what position Todd plays, because linesmen are going to be bigger, heftier players with more strength, more size, more body fat, whereas the other players are going to be more focused on running. So for Todd in general, body fat percentage might be one of his weaknesses, because he is a smaller individual, but he has a higher body fat percentage. Now, agility is another thing that he had to work on a little bit. Through looking at the agility drills and the 3-cone drills, his agility was under the rest of the team. Now, this is more so going to be important for, again, backs, receivers, and quarterbacks. However, linesmen do actually require a fair amount of agility too, because again, like said before, the duration of play is fairly short. The 1 rep max clean was also a weakness. He was off by 9 kilograms of the combine average, and this is a bit of a problem due to the fact that this is a whole body strength power workout that requires high rate of force production, high rate of power, and quite a bit of explosiveness. So this can be beneficial to absolutely any player on the pitch. The 40-yard dash time was 0.3 seconds off the team average, which doesn't seem like that much, but it's still a bit of an issue. As the 40-yard dash is done under 10 seconds and typically a play happens within under 10 seconds, it is important that we will be focusing on this to train his ATP system, which is the primary in football. Although Todd mentioned that he wants to put on more size and lean muscle, when looking at his assessments, it was evident that he needs to work more so on strength and power. When we looked at the Wingate test, his peak power was far under the rest of the team. Now, each and every position is going to have a tie to peak power, as it is the maximum amount of power that is produced. Now, one of the exercises that we are going to be focusing on through this program is the hang clean, as this is great for strength, rate of force production, and power output and explosiveness. Now, like I said before, this is important to any position. Linesmen are going to need explosiveness to explode through the opponent and push through or defend, as well as the runners are going to need explosiveness to power themselves down the field past the opposition. Now, when looking at the periodization table, you can see that I have a preparatory phase and a competition phase. Now, you may wonder where the transition phase is, but when looking at a full season, January is typically when the rest phase would be, as we are currently in the off season. Now, June 21st is when finals are, so that's when we're going to finish up the program. However, drafts don't typically happen till later on after that, so we don't actually get into the season quite yet. So as you can see, through the first half of the program, I am designing a strength program. Now the reason I do this first is through the OPT model, strength must come before power. Then for the second bit, we are going to be focusing on power. This is going to help condition him, help improve his power, his agility, and we are going to make sure he is in shape quicker and faster, so we are good to go for the season. Now, as you can see, I did a microcycle where it is going up and down until the very end of the season, where we drop the intensity load as he is going to be getting into summer camp and increasing his training through football, as in practices. Now, when you're looking through the program that I have designed for him, we have 1 to 2 plyometric exercises per program. We have our warm-up. We have at least 2 speed and quickness exercises, as this is relatable to football. We have our 4 base strength exercises, which will be the hang clean, the deadlift, the bench, and the squat. This way we are going to focus on compound workouts that are going to ensure that he improves full body strength. And we have our cool down. Now, within the program, I have included 2 different strength exercises, 2 different strength programs, as well as 2 different power programs. So after the first 2 months, we proceed into our power workouts. Now, through the OPT model again, it suggests that you do strength exercises superset with power exercises. So we have increased the plyometrics and speed and quickness, as well as we get into our strength exercises supersetted. So what I did for this is I did a hang clean superset with burpees, a deadlift superset with tubing row. We got our barbell bench press superset with plyometric push-ups, and our barbell squat superset with squat jumps. Now, these are going to be done at different intensities due to being in the program, the power program now. And as I said before, it is more focused on movement and getting him into shape now, rather than just primarily strength. Now, as we stated before, Todd is a very busy individual who is full-time student and works lots on the weekends as well. Now, due to this and the program we have designed him, we are going to prescribe a 3-time per week training schedule up until the end, where his practices are going to be increasing. So we will drop the load down to 2 days per week. Now, the 3 days per week we have chose is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just because it said that he can work 16 to 20 hours, so that is not exactly a set 16 or a set 20. So just to ensure that we are able to do that. And I chose Monday, Wednesday, Friday. As we are doing compound heavy workouts, we want to make sure that we at least have 1 rest day in between, so we do not go into overtraining and cause an injury, as we want to help him as much as possible. Hello, my name is Justin Wright, and here with me today is Jolene, who is going to help demonstrate a few exercises. Now, today we have been working on a sports-specific program designed that was assigned to me by my teacher. What I was given was a client who is currently playing university college football and is looking to get into the NFL. So what I have designed for a program for him based on specific assessments is a strength program for a couple months, and then a power program for a couple months, and we are going to be doing 2 exercises of each. So for our strength first, we are going to be doing a barbell bench press. So what I'll do is I'll demonstrate a couple repetitions, and then we will get to the client to come in, and I will do spotting and cueing. So we're going to get ourselves seated on the bench. We're going to come back. We're out nice and straight. We're going to have our wrists straight. We're going to have the hands nice and even. We're going to bring it down right about chest line, trying to keep it nice and even the entire time, not tilting to one side or the other, and up. Down, right along chest line, and up, all in a nice controlled manner. Down, and up. So you can go ahead. Good. And up. I'm going to keep the core drew in nice and tight. I'm going to keep those wrists nice and straight. In a nice controlled manner. And up, and down. And good. Okay, so the next exercise we are going to be moving on to is the hang clean. Now this can be a fairly complex workout, and it is a total body workout which requires a lot of force production and power output. So where we're going to be starting off, this is going to look a little funny to start off with as we don't have any weights on it, so we're going to be starting from a little lower. But going to have the bar down like we would with weights on the floor. Going to keep the bar under the knees. Going to keep the butt back, trying to keep the back nice and straight. As we come up, we're going to shrug, drive the hips, and then bring it to the chest. Back down, under the toes, driving up, shrug, and back up. From side view. And this is just slow motion I'm doing right now. I'll do one extra where we're doing the full movement at once. Okay, and you can go ahead. Good. Nice and slow, back straight, butt back, up. Yeah, shrug the shoulders, drive the hips, and up to the chest, yes. Oh. That's okay. One more. Nice and slow, just so we get the progression of it. So up, shrugging the shoulders and driving the hips at the same time, which will help us flip it up to the chest. Now we'll get a side view. We're going to drive through the heels, yeah, shrug, and good. Okay, again. Okay, so now we're going to do one where we're doing it all at once. So, we're going to start off from the bottom, coming up, and we're going to be shrugging the shoulders and driving the hips at the same time. Perfect. Now that we've finished our first two strength exercises, we are going to be moving into the power phase. Now typically for the power phase, they will have us supersetting a strength workout with a power workout, so that's what we are going to be doing today. So to start off with, we are going to be doing a strength workout called the deadlift. So what we're going to be doing for this one, bars, or hands a little wider than shoulder width, feet straight. Going to be bringing the bar down. Now again, normally this would have weight on it, so it's going to look a little funny now because we're going to be starting from a little lower than you typically would. But I'm going to start down, butt back, back straight. Going to try and keep this bar under the knees and above the toes. We're going to bring the bar along the body Again, keeping the back straight the entire time. I'm going to drive the hips, and we're going to bring the shoulders back, and then back down. So again, we're trying to drive through our heels the entire time we're doing this. So up, keep the bar along the body, drive the hips, shoulder back. And I'll get you to go ahead. Good, and we're going to drive those hips at the same time as we're bringing the shoulder back. So down, pushing through the heels, and up. And once more. And hip forward. Yeah, okay, hands from the side. Good, and we'll try and keep those toes nice and straight. Yeah, and we'll do once more. Now, up and drive right at the top. Good. So the power workout we'll be adding onto that is the tubing row. Now, normally you would use a tube-like material, but today we're going to be using a resistance band. Now, typically these will have handles on them. So we'll be bringing it up. We want it about just under chest height along the sternum. When we're bringing it back, squeezing the shoulder blades back, body nice and straight, core activated, and back. Squeeze, and back, all in one steady motion. Squeeze, and back. And we're going to try and keep those elbows tucked in nice and tight. Squeeze, and back. Go ahead. Back, squeeze, pinch those shoulder blades together, back. And one more. And good. Now for our last strength power combination, what we're going to be doing is a barbell squat superset with a squat jump. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be starting with our barbell. We're going to be bringing it behind the head. You can do several different positions. You can do wider, mid, and narrow, but we're just going to be doing a mid-range right now. Going to keep the feet about shoulder width apart, toes pointed forward. We're going to be keeping the back nice and straight and the core activated, and we're just going to be sitting back. So keep the butt back, back straight, and we're not going to try and lean forward too far or back. Going to keep the wrists nice and straight. That back. Now you want to try and get to a 90 degree, but if you cannot go that far, that's alright as well. Sit back. And you can go ahead. We'll go a little further back on the shoulders, just we'll do like a, yep, there we go. Yeah, sitting back, try not to come too far forwards. And up, that core nice and activated, and those wrists straight. One more time. And from the side. Good, and up. And one more. Those toes nice and straight. And good. And for the power workout, what we're going to be doing is a squat jump. So the name kind of describes how you're going to be going about it. You're going to be starting in a squat and jumping, down into a squat and jumping, squat and jumping. Again, you're trying to keep a fairly neutral form, staying in the same position, keeping the body in the same position. Again, trying to sit back and keep the back straight, core activated, and you're not trying to be all over the place. So you can go ahead if you'd like. Good. Making sure to drive through those heels. And from the side.